in which she's talking about the end-of-term report for Keir Starmer. I'm afraid he only gets 5 out of 10. Must try harder, says Kate, and I think she's absolutely spot on. She says the economy's shrinking, his popularity's plummeting, and his pesky backbenchers are busy rebelling. The only thing on the up in Britain is illegal immigration and crime. I mean, sounds like that. Doesn't sound like a great time to go on holiday at all, does it? Kate, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Nice to see you. Great column this morning. I mean, the one thing that made me think about everything that's going on from the Essex, the Epping Forest problem with the Bell Hotel, to the problems with, you know, various trade deals, international visits, all the rest of it. It's not a great time to be kind of cutting up for the summer, is it, for Parliament? I mean, the problems of this country are huge now, and they're all, you know, disappearing off to do something else.
Yeah, Parliament breaks up on Tuesday, tomorrow. So, yeah, they're going to have a long summer ahead of them. It's always very tricky when Parliament breaks up, because what happens in the summer every year at the moment, you see crime rocketing, and you're starting to see Reformer Nigel Farage. They're going to be campaigning on that all summer, twisting the knife into Labour and Keir Starmer. But also the boats crisis always gets worse in those kind of hot, calm months of August. So often it's kind of those supposedly quiet months of August, which is the biggest headache for Number 10.
Yeah, and we've seen Nigel Farage this morning, big piece in the Sun, talking about his plan for law and order, his plan for justice, his plan for the prisons. And, you know, a lot of people this morning telling me they like the sound of it. They're all going, yeah, let's get tougher on crime. You know, let's send some of these horrible, ghastly criminals to some foreign hellhole and let them suffer the consequences.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think this is probably going to be one of the biggest issues at the next general election. There's this sense in this country that it's not fair, that criminals are getting away with it. Everything from kind of supposedly low-level crime. So you see all those images of shoplifters. I mean, you don't have to be in kind of a Tesco or a Lidl very long before you see somebody walk in and scoop stuff off the shelves like it's supermarket sweep. So all the way down from that quite supposedly low-level crime, but the kind of crime that is insidious and just makes us feel that people are playing by the same rules, and that's where you get a lot of fury from, I think.
Yeah.
But also, we've obviously seen the early prison release scheme as we run out of jail places. But that means that genuine, you know, real offenders, sometimes violent offenders who have been locked up, are now walking free. So I think this is very, very fertile territory for Nigel Farage.
It is, and particularly when you see stories like the one at the weekend about how many of these illegal migrants are now involved in crime and cases that are being brought against them for all manner of things, from theft to sexual assault to rape. We see what's happening, as I say, in Epping, in Essex, and it feels like that's the beginning of some form of sort of, you know, people's rebellion almost.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you saw the riots last year. You're starting to see these protests this year again. If the government isn't able to be transparent about how they're dealing with criminals and get a grip, and for it to feel fair, then you will start seeing more and more of these protests, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And in terms of your sort of general 5 out of 10 points for Keir Starmer, I mean, he has been incredibly bad, hasn't he? I mean, I've said this to you before, and I've said it to many of your colleagues at the paper as well. You know, we all knew that Labour might do some things that we wouldn't perhaps want them to do, but we didn't think they'd be this incompetent, and he has really proven himself to be pretty incompetent.
Yeah, so in the column, I kind of play with this idea that it's end of school, end of year, and he's got his report card. I mean, it's been a really rough year for Keir Starmer and Labour. I think everyone's been shocked at how little prepared they seem for government. They thought they were over-prepared, but actually it felt like once they got into Number 10, they didn't really have much of an agenda.
Yeah.
I tell Keir he needs to go away over the summer and come back. What I would like to see them do this September is actually spell out to us some big reforms that they want to do in this country, get our agreement for it, make the big cases for it. Because I think that was the problem with Keir Starmer and the welfare rebels. You know, he didn't really make the case for welfare reform. So then it ended up blowing up in his face. But he's got this huge majority. Like it or not, voters gave him a huge majority a year ago. He needs to do something with it. He needs to drag the country out of its paralysis and do something with that majority. Otherwise, next time, I think voters will go elsewhere.
But he just kind of spends a lot of his time hiding out, doesn't he? And inviting, you know, sort of, I'm not going to call the German leader obscure, but certainly Czechia's leader was a bit of a surprise when I was going, oh, who's this guy, and what is Czechia? You know, I mean, it's kind of he keeps kind of finding new people to invite to Downing Street. I think he's got the Indian Prime Minister coming over soon, and he loves to do all that, but it doesn't help him at home really. People aren't buying this, you know, elder statesman idea.
Well, the thing that all prime ministers need to remember, and Keir Starmer needs to remember, is that there's not really any vote in being the kind of global statesman or going off abroad. There just isn't. Britain's facing a lot of basic bread and butter issues here at home. The economy is now shrinking, as you talk about. Crime is perceived to be getting out of control, illegal immigration. These are the big issues that will define how people vote and what they think of the government. And while obviously there's an element of the international stage that every prime minister needs to deal with and interact with, Keir has to be very careful that he doesn't seem to be hiding out there, only doing the stuff he enjoys. He needs to get back to Britain and grasp these really quite thorny nettles of reform.
Yeah. Absolutely right. And he's up before a committee, I understand, this afternoon, where he's going to get quizzed for a couple of hours. He's not going to enjoy that, is he?
This is the liaison committee, which is lots of heads of select committee chairs grilling him. It's interesting because that welfare rebellion that erupted about a month ago, that was really led by a bunch of Labour select committee chairs. So you're starting to see Keir Starmer be challenged by his own senior backbenchers. You'll see that again today. So it's going to be a lot of Labour voices interrogating him rather than Tory or Reform.
Yeah, which may be even more dangerous than because he has to answer them in a different way than he would otherwise somebody who he regarded as his enemy, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't just dismiss these questions as kind of gripes of former kind of has-been Tories. These are kind of big, senior, influential, often female select committee chairs interrogating him. So that'll be tough for him today, definitely.
And what about a reshuffle? Anything in the summer? We've been promised maybe something would happen over the summer months. What do you think?
I don't think it will happen in the summer. I mean, we've been waiting for this Keir Starmer reshuffle. I did think that after the rebellion, he was a bit too weak to reshuffle his cabinet. Yeah. So I suspect we're going to see these rumours again September. If it doesn't happen in September, you're looking maybe first week of January next year. But, I mean,
God, will he still be here?
But I mean, people are talking about this ministerial reshuffle. I think we'll certainly get one of those down the kind of lower levels of the ministerial rung. The big question is, can Keir Starmer shuffle his actual cabinet? You know, those politicians we may actually have heard of.
Yes.
Or is he actually a bit too weak to do that?
Yeah, I think you might be right. Kate, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Brilliant column. Kate Ferguson, political editor at The Sun on Sunday. Paul in Fife says this morning, Mike, I keep hearing endless arguments about these illegals and ECHR preventing us sending them back to their own countries or to France. I'm sorry, it's all codswallop. Bottom line is, if I flew from Glasgow to Paris and I didn't have my passport, I would be sent back home on the next available plane. These people arrive here from France, send them back to France.